Strixhaven, a curriculum of chaos, has the potential to shake up the way subclasses will be designed for 5th edition. That is if Unearthed Arcana Mages of Strixhaven is well received by the player base. This Unearthed Arcana features 5 new subclasses, with each of them being able to be taken by multiple classes. In this video, I'm taking a look at the Lorehold subclass for the Bard, Warlock, and Wizard. I will be taking a look at the character fantasy the subclass is trying to tell, its key features, showcase a few ways to change the flavor of the subclass, and finally, how we can use the Lorehold Mage in the official 5th edition settings. Hello, welcome to Dungeoneers Pack, a channel bringing you player-focused discussions and character guides for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. My name is Josh, thank you for watching. Before we get started, this video is sponsored by the newly launched Kickstarter from Dungeon Coach for Alkander's Almanac of All Things, a modular 5th edition rules expansion looking to give playgroups the tools to customize and expand the 3 pillars of play: combat, exploration, and roleplay. If your group is looking to add some spice to their combat, Alkander's Almanac aims to add more tactical options. If you're playing a martial character and are getting bored of just using the attack action, this supplement is adding 20 new actions for you to choose from. You will also find rules to make your games more challenging with a set of hardcore rules, which adds lingering injuries, changes to the death mechanics, and a ritual resurrection system. This is just a fraction of what will be in Alkander's Almanac of All Things. Even then, nothing is set in stone as all the rules and mechanics in this supplement are modular and can be tweaked to fit your table's playstyle. To support and learn more about Alkander's Almanac of All Things, go to the Kickstarter page. You can find a link to it in the description below. With that said, let's get started. Before we take a look at the Lorehold subclass, let's check out the rules from the UA that describes how a player can take these subclasses for their character. When we can choose this subclass or when we reach a level in which we can take a feature, we can only take the subclass or features if we meet the listed requirements. If we reach a level in which we are able to choose from multiple features, we can only choose one unless otherwise specified. With the rules laid out for us, let's take a look at the key features for the subclass. 2 out of the 4 features for the Mage of Lorehold subclass are centered around having a pet for combat. Ancient Companion is the primary feature for this subclass, with Warlocks getting this at level 1, Wizards getting this at level 2, and Bards getting it at level 3. This feature follows the same pet mechanic design introduced in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. The Companion can scale, it shares our initiative, and we can use our bonus action to command it. Whenever we finish a short or long rest, we summon a spirit to possess a statue within 10 feet of us to serve as our companion. When summoning the spirit, we get the choice between 3 variants: Healer, Sage, or Warrior. Each of them uses the same stat block and base abilities, but each variant has an additional ability. The Healer is a defensive option with the ability to grant players temporary hit points as an action. The Sage is a supportive option granting allies a +2 bonus to their intelligence and wisdom checks if they are within 15 feet of it. And the Warrior is also a defensive choice, but with a frontliner playstyle. It has an increased armor class and a reaction ability that triggers whenever a creature that is next to it makes a strength or dexterity saving throw. That creature gets to add a d4 to that roll. All the variants share the same base melee weapon attack dealing force damage, and also share the Ancient Fortitude ability, which has the potential to prevent the companion from dying if it drops to 0 hit points. If the companion can succeed on a Constitution saving throw, it sticks around with just 1 hit point. The companion has a ton of utility, but I can see the Warrior being the default option due to the increased armor class, which helps it in combat considering the base attack option puts it in melee range. I feel the Healer is a viable choice, especially in the first tier play. Given the temporary hit point ability is an action, it makes a perfect support companion for your party frontliners and strikers. The Sage will be overlooked, but will be a great tool to have for those sessions where your party will be doing a lot of scouting and investigating. It's the only spirit out of the 3 that is usable outside of combat. When taking a look at how this feature affects the Warlock, Bard, and Wizard, the Warlock has a clear advantage. From right out the gate at level 1, the Warlock is able to put an extra body on the battlefield, which can act as a frontliner with the Warrior, or hand out those sweet temporary hit points as the Healer. The drawback for the Warlock is that it requires the use of our bonus action, which will have it competing with the Hex spell. In the case of the Wizard, this works in their favor. Even though they get the companion a level later, the Wizard class usually does not have anything to use for their bonus action. This subclass provides them a useful one. The Bard is in the same boat as the Warlock. The companion competes with Bardic Inspiration for the bonus action. Lessons of the Past is not a key feature, but I wanted to point it out as it is the only feature for the subclass that builds on top of our companion feature. Depending on which spirit we summon will determine which ability will be active at the time. Calling forth the Healer will increase our total hit point maximum equal to our level in this class, and whenever we regain hit points from a spell, we add an additional d8 to that roll. Summoning the Sage will grant us advantage on ability checks using the Arcana, History, Nature, and Religion skills. Also, once per turn, whenever we deal damage to a creature with a spell we cast at level 1 or higher, we deal an extra 1d8 force damage to that creature. And if we summon the Warrior, we will get to make a weapon attack if we use our action to cast a cantrip, and that weapon attack will deal an additional 1d8 radiant damage. The bonus for using the healer spirit is sure to help out those squishy wizards, granting the class some always welcomed hit points. While all three of the classes benefit from an extra healing die, the bard is the only class that does not have to rely on a teammate for it. While the sage is mainly an out of combat option, this feature gives it some viability in combat that will help out any of the spellcasters. That extra bit of damage is at the star of the show for me. Advantage on knowledge skills benefit all three classes and really helps the player be the information gatherer for the party. The warrior offers an interesting way to provide an extra attack feature. The warlock and bard benefit from this feature outright, as each class's proficiency, spells, and class features allow them to take advantage of the extra attack. A Pact of the Blade warlock using melee cantrips like Booming Blade, or a bard casting Vicious Mockery followed up with a shot from a hand crossbow are just two of the builds that come to mind. Each subclass introduced in 5th edition is trying to give us the tools to play out a character fantasy. Let's take a look at what story the Mage of Lorehold is trying to help us tell. From the Magic the Gathering lore, those that study at Lorehold College scour through history to unlock secrets thought long forgotten. Whether it's exploring ruins of a forgotten temple, digging up artifacts, reading through newly unearthed scrolls or tomes, or communicating with the spirits of the dead, these discoveries provide the knowledge or grant a mage direct access to magic that was thought lost. The Bard, Warlock, and Wizard managed to mesh a bit of their class fantasy with the story elements for Lorehold. A Lorehold bard is retelling the history that they have uncovered in their studies. Warlocks barter power from the spirits of the past that they have summoned forth, and wizards study the history found in scrolls, ancient artifacts, or in tomes to unlock ancient magic. Ancient Companion reinforces the idea in each class. The mages are using history in the form of a spirit from a long-gone civilization to help on their quest. The expanded spell list captures the exploration aspect and the ability to speak or work with spirits that is seen in various art for the college. War Echoes and History's Whims are the final features in the subclass, but I feel they deal more with time manipulation instead of weaponizing history through magic. Time magic isn't part of the story or flavor of Lorehold, but it could have been added just in case they ever reprint the subclass in a setting neutral supplement. Let's take a look at how we can change the flavor of the subclass. The mechanics of this subclass make it perfect to play a variety of summoner concepts. Ancient Companion is a key to each flavor change. We could play as a wizard who specializes in summoning elementals. Each of the different spirits for Ancient Companion could be a different elemental. Water could be the healer, Sage could be the air elemental, and a warrior could be the fire elemental. To give each of the spirits a bit more of the elemental flavor, I would work with your DM to change the damage type of each of the elemental spirit strike action, and any additional damage options they could provide with the Lessons of the Past feature. Using the Bard, we can play as a sculptor who is capable of bringing their creations to life. We do not summon a spirit to bond with the sculpture, instead we infuse magic into it, and its shape is what gives it its chosen type. History's Whim could be used to represent our character entering a magic-infused state of creativity, wielding magic and commanding their sculpture to turn the battlefield into a piece of art. If we are playing a Warlock, we can easily use the subclass to play a Necromancer. The pet from our Ancient Companion is no longer a statue, but is instead an undead servant that has been summoned to serve us. Just like what I suggested with the elementals, work with your DM to alter the damage type of the Spirit Strike action and additional damage options provided by Lessons of the Past to necrotic. Since the Warlock is capable of wielding the forces of darkness, the War Echoes feature could be them using their necromantic magic to weaken the enemy to bring them closer to death. Now let's see how we can play the Mage of Lorehold subclass in each of the official 5th edition settings. In Forgotten Realms, we can play a dwarf bard who retells the tales of their clan by calling on their spirits to aid them on their adventure. In Eberron, we can play as a human wizard from House Cannith, and powered by their Dragon Mark of Making, they have created a construct that they can infuse with magic to help them with their inventions. In Ravenloft, we can play as a mad scientist that has found a way to reanimate a body temporarily by capturing and using a ghost to fuel their creation. In Ravnica, we could be a member of the Izzet League who is capable of summoning and trapping elementals into a Mysium shell to assist them with their experiments. And finally in Theros, we could be a devout follower of Perforos that crafts Avalrock creations in their god's honor. Their skill has caught the eye of the god of the Forge, and they have been given the gift to infuse the powers of Nyx into their creations. Mages of Strixhaven introduction of a subclass for multiple classes is interesting, exciting, but makes it difficult to assess their power level. The subclass may be perfectly balanced comparatively for a single class, but may be weak or powerful in others. Given the broad design approach Wizards has to take for the Mage of Lorehold and other subclasses in this UA, the subclass's features are not tailored to complement, utilize, or improve class features. This is especially felt by the Bard, as every subclass for it puts a new spin on the Bardic Inspiration die. Unfortunately, the Mage of Lorehold does not. Another thing to point out is the Bard is the only class where a player will have to choose whether they want to take the level 10 or 14 feature. The Warlock and Wizard, on the other hand, get all the features from the subclass. This has been a sticking point for some in the community, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Bards instead get magical secrets, which I feel is much more useful to a player and their party compared to the level 14 feature, History's Whims. The standout feature for the subclass is Ancient Companion. The 3 different spirit options when paired with the features of the class will offer different playstyles and experiences despite all the classes sharing the same subclass. What I like about the pet besides its utility is that it gives the spellcaster a consistent form of damage with the use of their bonus action. Taking a look at the spell list, it embodies the flavor of the college while providing casters utility spells. The biggest boon the spell list gives to the Bard, Warlock, and Wizard is access to one of the best cleric spells in the game, Spirit Guardians. Aside from the pet, the feature I find the most exciting and powerful is War Echoes. I love abilities that encourage teamwork, and War Echoes will allow us to capitalize on big damage done by other party members. The thing is, due to how effective it could be when paired with the Paladin Smite or Rogue Sneak Attack, it would not surprise me if this feature gets watered down when it makes it a print. The final feature is History's Whims, and I found it to be lackluster. It trades potential power for flexibility, and while I enjoy having options for many features, the options presented in the capstone just seem to fall short, giving players small abilities that are situational. The Mage of Lorehold subclass is an interesting player option that provides the Bard, Warlock, and Wizard a companion-based subclass with flexible options to suit a variety of builds. With that said, I want to hear from you. How will you use the Mage of Lorehold subclass in your games? Let me know down in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, and if you want to see more content like this, I drop a video every week, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Are you needing some help getting the basics of the Strixhaven setting? Check out my Player's Guide to Strixhaven video. You'll get a rundown of the setting's lore, the colleges, and some advice on which classes fit right into the setting. You can check out that video by clicking the thumbnail on the screen or in the link in the description. Alright, I'm out of here. Have a good one.